See, the alabaster box that she brought to Simon's house was the best thing she had to give to Jesus. And that was her act of worship. You see, when she poured the fragrant oil on Jesus' head, as I mentioned earlier, this woman wasn't in church. So for her to truly be able to worship him and truly be able to pour the oil on him, because that's just a sign of worship, for her to truly have been able to worship Jesus, for you to truly be able to worship him, like the sister said, you got to worship him in spirit and truth, but you also have to be and had an encounter with him. See, this woman who wasn't a churchgoer, wasn't on the praise and worship team, probably was out at the club last night, probably had about 6 or 7 children, and here she comes to Simon's house. Who is she? Well, the only way this woman could truly worship Jesus the way she had is because somewhere in her pain, in some situations that she had faced, in some walkouts, in some disappointments, she had an encounter with Jesus. And once you have an encounter with Jesus, you will never be the same. Once Jesus had to touch her life in such a way that it didn't matter how the people looked at her when she got to Simon's house. It didn't matter what they thought of me. It didn't matter if they was going to laugh at me when I got there. I'm making my way to Jesus. And I'm going to give him my best worship. See, religious folks were so connected about how expensive the oil was, and murmured amongst themselves that breaking the flex oil was a waste. But this woman knew the true value of the oil, but the worth was nothing compared to what Jesus was going to do throughout all eternity. Oh, glory. I'm here to announce nobody knows what it took for her to get to Jesus. Nobody knows what it's going to take for you to get to Jesus. No one truly knew the embarrassment she had to face. The pain of knowing people were going to stare at her. She didn't fit in. She wasn't even invited to his house. Tell your neighbor, you don't know what I endured before I came here today. You don't know the sleepless nights. You don't know the hurt it caused when he walked out on me. You don't know the times I contemplated suicide. You don't know how many times I was close to having a nervous breakdown. See, I'm talking from my own experience. There was times in my personal life when I not only felt like I was having a nervous breakdown, but I wanted to have a nervous breakdown because I've been through some things. You don't know how many days I went hungry trying to feed my children. See, there's somebody in here that has been through some things, that have been through some suffering. But I'm here to announce to you the word of God says, those that suffer with me shall reign with me. You don't know how many times someone's being molested over and over again. You don't know how many times they was falsely accused. And the list goes on. But during those times, I wanted to give up. I had an encounter with Jesus that nobody else knew about. I experienced his love. I experienced he telling me, I'm gonna make it. I experienced his healing power. I experienced his true deliverance. Jesus kept me from death, not once, but more than once. The reason I'm here today, I know that Jesus has done it for me. I came today to give God my best worship.